Okay, welcome to Fishy Fitness Coaching Podcast. This is episode 6, and I'm going to do a Q&A, first Q&A of the... It's the first Q&A, basically. So I've got a few questions here I've had from people from Facebook and Instagram. So, what have we got here? I apologise, I've forgotten to write down the names who asked the question. Or questions. There's a few, but yeah, most of them I've just written down the question from, because I've had them from Facebook and Instagram, and just sort of people asking me in DMs and stuff. I'm just using some of them. So here we go. So this one's actually from TikTok. She said, I eat once a day or go days without eating and I still can't lose weight. Why not? Well, this is literally because you're not in a calorie deficit still, okay? So that's the only reason one doesn't lose weight, because you are not in a consistent calorie deficit. So you may be thinking you're barely eating and you're going days without eating and you're eating once a day, but it all still comes down to energy balance. You need to be in a negative energy balance for you to lose weight. If you're not, you are simply not in a negative energy balance, or aka a calorie deficit. So you think of it this way. Let's say you do eat once a day, right? You haven't told me what you're eating, how much you're eating, what sorts of food you're eating. Is it just one main meal a day? How are you forgetting about the snacks, the liquid calories you're potentially drinking? Do you drink alcohol? Fizzy drinks, Coke, Fanta, whatever. A lot of people don't realise how much they are consuming. So when you say I eat once a day, is that one meal, one main meal? If so, then that meal could easily be, 1,000 calories, quite easily. Then you could be snacking, you could be drinking other calories worth another 1,000 calories. So you could be consuming up to 2,000 calories a day without even realising it. And you're still eating once a day, right? So the answer to this is you're not losing weight because you're not in a calorie deficit. You are consuming a lot more calories than you think. And when you say things like, I'm going days without eating, well, what happens is when you don't eat enough food, which keeps you satiated and full, you get really hungry, right? And then before you know it, you're inhaling everything you see in your kitchen, in your fridge. And again, before you know it, you've consumed 2,000 calories. You're binging, you're literally eating everything you can get your hands on. So when people say they don't eat much, they probably don't eat much, but that's leading them to binge in the evenings, at weekends, whenever you get really, really hungry. So you may not think you're eating much, but you are actually consuming a lot more calories than you think. So my advice would be to go back to basics. Don't overthink it. Stick to 3 main meals per day, right? Each of those meals should be well balanced. And when I say well balanced, I mean half of your plate, or whatever you use, should be vegetables, because they're satiating, they give you nutrients, they fill you up. A quarter of your plate should be lean protein, like chicken, fish, lean beef, for example. And then another quarter of your plate should be carbs, so potato, rice, pasta, wholemeal pasta, right? Obviously don't make those portions too big. That's going to satiate you, it's going to give you some nutrients, it's going to help you feel full, and it's not overdoing it on calories. Remember you also need some fats in there as well. So you can get some fats from the meat. You can drizzle a little bit of olive oil over your vegetables or whatever to increase your fat content, but just go easy with that because it's very calorific. So I guarantee if you started doing this, 3 well-balanced meals per day, reasonably sized, enough to fill you up, but not so much that you're still consuming way too many calories. I guarantee if you did this, you would feel better. You would start to move more, and your metabolism would start to increase again. Because another thing, right? If you're not eating enough, then your metabolism will slow down because you have no energy. You feel tired. You end up moving less. Moving is part of your metabolism, right? Metabolism is the amount of calories you burn in a day. So if you don't eat enough, you're going to start moving less. So your metabolism will start to reduce. All right, so that's what I would do. 3 main meals a day. Yes, you can start tracking your food if you want by using MyFitnessPal or Macro Factor, just to ensure you're not going over on your calories. Remember to work out your rough maintenance calories. You can do that by going on a calorie calculator website or TDEE calculator online, or you could just use the one I'm offering out for free on my website, or there's a link in my bio or Instagram. Download the UTP Ultimate Training Program, and it'll give you your own calorie calculator and your protein calculator on there. So use that. So yeah, start tracking your calories, start tracking your food. Go back to basics. 3 main meals per day with lots of veg, high amounts of protein, and some carbs, and a little bit of fats. And that's it. That's my advice. That's a very long-winded answer, wasn't it? But that's basically why. But it's very, very common. People not thinking they are eating much, when in reality they're eating a lot more than they think. Very, very common, especially with all these highly palatable, ultra-processed, calorie-dense foods. And drinking as well. Like drinking your calories, it still counts as energy. Alcohol, fizzy drinks, fruit juices, milk, whatever, coffees, Right, so I forgot her name. What was her name? Is it Sarah? It could be Sarah. Next question is intermittent fasting as good as people say it is for belly fat loss? Now, this subject of intermittent fasting is becoming quite common again. It's quite popular. I've had a few questions on this. I had one from a girl called Katie this morning, and yeah, she's just saying everyone's raving about it. And is it really effective? Is it great for? Why is it so common? Why is it so? What's the hype basically? I did a post on it. Well, I'm going to do a post on it tomorrow. Actually, I filmed it today, but yeah, it's a very easy way to. Or I hope it's a very easy way for me explaining what intermittent fasting is and why it's potentially good for fat loss. So intermittent fasting is basically, it's such a simple way of explaining it. It's basically skipping breakfast. It's skipping a meal. It's allowing yourself, instead of having a 24-hour window of eating, which most people do, people eat whenever they want, right? Intermittent fasting is basically having an 8-hour window of eating rather than 24. So 8 hours of your day you can eat, and then 16 hours you don't eat. So you fast for 16 hours and you eat within the 8 hours. Okay? 16 and 8, 24 hours a day. So the idea is, there's nothing magic about it. The idea is, if you are given a smaller time frame to eat in, the chances are you're less likely to go over your calories. Right? Let's just say your calorie target is 2,000, right? In order to lose body fat, you need to consume roughly 2,000 calories per day. Imagine if you were allowed to eat whenever you wanted, right? It's very, very easy to consume over 2,000 calories in 24 hours. Whereas if someone says to you, right, you can only eat within this 8-hour window, it's a lot harder, isn't it? You find it a lot harder to eat or consume 2,000 calories in 8 hours. Yes, of course, it's still easily done. It's still very, very possible to overconsume on your calories in 8 hours. But as long as your food choices and you're sensible with what sorts of food you are consuming, it's a lot harder. So if you have the same sort of nutritional principles in terms of lots of vegetables, lean protein, you reduced your ultra processed food, and you had mainly nutritionally dense foods, whole foods. If you stuck to those principles, you'd probably find it a lot harder to overconsume 2,000 calories in 8 hours than you would in 24 hours, right? So that's basically it. There's nothing magical about it. There's all these things going around saying, oh, it reduces inflammation, it helps with prevent cancer, it does all these magical things. But yes, but so does being in a calorie deficit. So does increasing vegetables. So does eating sensibly. It's just all it is a way for you to potentially reduce your calorie intake. So it's not magic. It's a diet technique which some people use to consume less calories. It may work, it works very, very well for some people, because depending on if they enjoy breakfast or not, some people don't enjoy breakfast. Some people haven't got time to eat breakfast in the morning. So for those people who like to get up and just go to work or get up and do other things, then great. And if they want to lose fat, then great. Do intermittent fasting. Don't eat until midday. So normally their first meal is midday, and they've got between 12 midday and 8 p.m. to have their food. So normally they'd have lunch, then have dinner, and that's it. So if you think about it, or maybe a snack as well, but if you think about it, it would be very hard to have lunch, a little snack, and a dinner, and over-consume your calories. But look at it this way: if you did intermittent fasting and your first meal was a very calorie dense fry up, and then you had a few pints, and then you had an ice cream, and then you went for a pizza, and then you had some more beer, and then you went for a dessert or something. That's still easily over your calories. So again, it's nothing magic. It's just, it can work very well for some people, because it potentially reduces the amount of calories that you are consuming on a daily basis. That's all. All right. And all these things which intermittent fasting claims it does for the body, and the cleansing and the metabolism and all this kind of stuff, your body will do that anyway. And 9 times out of 10, being in a calorie deficit, eating lots of vegetables and protein, having a good healthy diet, it will do that anyway. In summary, yes, it could work for you, but it's still possible to overconsume your calories when doing intermittent fasting. Done. Hope that makes sense. Right, third question. Again, this was a guy from Facebook, and he says, does protein help weight loss? As some sources say it leads to constipation and slows weight loss. So protein is a very, very important macronutrient when it comes to fat loss and just general health. Yes, protein will help with weight loss because it's very satiating. So having a high protein diet will help you feel fuller for longer, which means you'll tend to eat less calories overall. And also it has a higher thermic effect, more than carbs and fats. So that means that your body will actually burn more calories simply by digesting it. It's not a huge amount, but like a few percent more. So I wouldn't then suddenly say, oh good, if I eat protein then I'm going to burn loads of calories. You won't really. You'll burn a few more, but not that many more. So yes, protein does help with weight loss because it helps you keep full, and it has a slightly higher thermic effect. This thing about constipation and protein, though, it's not the actual protein which could cause constipation. It's the fact that most people, when they increase their protein consumption, they tend to eat less fiber because they're fuller, right? Because fiber is very, very satiating, and so is protein. So when someone says, yeah, I'm going to start to eat more protein, then more often than not, their fiber intake will reduce. So it's not the extra protein, it's the reduction in fiber, usually. So as long as your fiber intake is is high and your protein intake is high and your ultra processed, highly palatable foods and alcohol is low, you should be okay. So I'm not sure where you got the it slows weight loss from. The only thing I could potentially say is, if you're constipated, you're gonna struggle to lose weight if you get where I'm coming from. Because I'm not saying fat loss. I'm saying other means of losing weight because you're constipated. So that's the only thing. So if you're going through this issue, if you're struggling to lose weight, not body fat, weight, and you're constipated, then that could be the issue. Increase your fibre, and over time, that should start to subside. If not, then I would go and see a GP. Okay, where's the next one? So another one, thoughts on intermittent fasting. I've gone through that already. Another one here. This is from a guy called Rich. Are Monster energy drinks bad? No. Nothing is inherently bad, right? So if we take the sugar-free versions of Monster energy drinks, right? Let's think what's actually in them. It's mainly water. It's fizzy water, right? It's artificial sweeteners, and it's caffeine, basically, right? Caffeine is not bad for you if you're careful with the amount of caffeine you consume on a daily, weekly basis. Caffeine is very, very good for you. It can help with focus, help with increasing your energy, so it can help with your training, can help with fat loss because it helps you move more, so it will help lead to more fat loss. Caffeine is very, very good for you. You just need to be aware of how much you're consuming. All right. Water, fizzy water, nothing wrong with that. Obviously, you need water to survive. I mean, too much of anything is bad. Too much water is bad. Artificial sweeteners. It's not aspartame. It's basically something very, very similar, which, again, in small doses is not bad for you. You'd have to have a shitload of these drinks to have any adverse effect on you, right? And these studies that have been taken on artificial sweeteners have been on mice, and I don't think you're a mouse, so I wouldn't worry about that. You'd need to drink, like, aspartame is in Diet Coke, right? You would need to drink hundreds of cans a day for it to have any negative effect on you. So I wouldn't worry about it. So that's the sugar-free version, right? So sugar-free Monster energy drinks, no, they're not bad. Have them in moderation, like anything else, okay? Because of the high content of caffeine. It depends on you. It depends on your size. Depends on your sensitivity to caffeine. But no, they're not bad. The ones which contain sugar, though, yeah, obviously there's sugar in them, but it's just sugar. There's calories, obviously, from the sugar. So it depends on if you need more energy, sugar. Again, there's nothing wrong with them. But again, if you're having 2, 3, 4, 5 a day, then yeah, maybe we need to start sort of thinking about reducing that slightly. But try and get away from this foods and drinks are bad. That there's no bad foods, just a bad diet, okay? Everything in moderation. I'm going to do one or two more. So this one's from Kev. Is Olympic lifting good for muscle growth? No, not great for muscle growth at all, because if you think about the Olympic lifts like snatch and the clean, you think about how much muscle is being used during those specific movements. It's the stress placed upon all the muscles. It's so spread out over the whole body. There's not enough tension within a specific area of the muscle to elicit muscle growth. Because let's say, for example, let's look at a bicep curl. Bicep curl, all the tension is on the bicep. Okay, so very, very concentrated and isolated. So to get optimal muscle growth, you need to put high amounts of tension and stress on the target muscle. So that's why bicep curls are very good for growing the bicep, because all that stress is placed upon the bicep, and nowhere else really. A little bit of the forearms, but that's it. Think about a snatch, right? I mean, literally most muscles in the body are being used during the snatch. The whole posterior chain. You've got some quad in there. You got core. You've got back. You've got shoulders, triceps. So there's so much tension being spread out over the whole body. It's just not going to elicit enough mechanical tension on the muscles to create growth, right? For optimal muscle growth, you need to put stress on the target muscle. Clean, for example. So just a clean. You're lifting a heavy weight from the floor. You catch it on the front of your shoulders, right? Same thing. It's just not. There's not enough tension placed upon a specific target muscle to create muscle growth. You may get a little bit of muscle growth. It's not optimal. You look at all the professional bodybuilders, the best bodybuilders, the professionals who are literally, they're living to build muscle. None of them do Olympic lifting because it's not optimal. Yes, you see some CrossFitters and Olympic lifters. They are muscular. They're in really good shape. But they don't just do Olympic lifts. They do other accessory movements to help with strengthening certain movements and building up certain muscle groups to help them with that lift, right? To complement the lift. You may get some muscle growth from doing these movements, but it's very, very fatiguing. They're very, very fatiguing. And, you need to be taking the muscle close to failure to get any sort of growth. And, doing a snatch or a clean and jerk to failure is just dangerous, and it's extremely fatiguing. You need to take into account recovery when it comes to optimal muscle growth. So it's completely different. So on the opposite end of the spectrum, Olympic lifting, yes, great for speed, power, explosiveness, overall strength, but not very good for muscle growth, right? Bodybuilding exercises, great for muscle growth, not great for speed, power, explosiveness, and all that kind of stuff, right? It's not sport specific, really. Olympic lifting, sport specific. Same for, someone said here, is CrossFit good for muscle growth? Same thing. It's on the same sort of spectrum. Yes, you can get some growth from CrossFit, but it's not optimal. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. That's nearly half an hour. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope that helped. Any questions on any of these answers or the questions I answered, let me know. Please, if you can leave a review, that'd be great. I'd really appreciate it. If you can tell your mates about the podcast, your family, friends, whatever. Share it on your social media, on your stories. And I will see you, I won't see you, but I will speak to you again next week. Take care.